Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today we are here to take a look at 10 awesome movies you've never seen. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so 10 awesome movies you've never seen, or maybe you just missed these, or you've seen them before and kind of forgot about them. Maybe you heard about them, never got a chance to watch them. But these are some pretty good films that I definitely think are worth your time if you've missed them, forgotten them, or you never just got a chance to check them out. So we're going to jump right into them. They're not really in any kind of order specifically, and just a fast, fun look at 10 good movies to fill your time. First up is Fanboys. Now, if you're a Star Wars fan, you've probably found this movie. This movie has a good cast in it. It's got Jay Baruchel in here, Dan Fogler, Sam Huntington, and Kristen Bell. And you even get some fun cameos in this movie by Seth Rogen, by William Shatner himself. You get Billy D. Williams in here. You get Carrie Fisher making a appearance, and what it is exactly what you think. They're fanboys. They're huge Star Wars fans. The movie takes place right as the Phantom Menace is getting ready to come out, and the problem is all these kids grew up as huge Star Wars fans. Two of them run a comic book shop. They're huge fans, but one of them is dying, and he may not make it to see the Phantom Menace. So they hatch a plan to go to Skywalker Ranch and break into George Lucas's house and watch the Phantom Menace. And there is so much fan service for Star Wars fans in here. This is before George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney. They had to get him on board because they use a lot of Star Wars stuff, licensed stuff, and they did get him on board with this. It is really fun. If you're a Star Wars fan, it's even more fun. And I don't know, even their van that they travel across country in is supposed to be somewhat like the Millennium Falcon or a X-wing fighter. The way he's got like R2D2 on top. It is a lot of fun. There are a lot of like little Easter eggs in here too. I have fun with the movie. Kristen Bell is like the fan girl that hangs out with the fanboys a lot. Lots of fun in this movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. So Fanboys, first on our list. Next on our list is one that has a very different tone, and I got this a few months ago on physical media from Imprint. I'm talking about Secretary. If you haven't seen Secretary, it's a little sexy. It's a little naughty. I mean, you can probably tell that from the cover, and it says "Assume the Position." James Spader, Maggie Gyllenhaal. This is sort of like the almost like the secretary being dominated by her boss fantasy thing, but it comes to real life between these two. James Spader is Maggie Gyllenhaal's boss, and very, very interesting dynamic at play here, and definitely, sort of one of those sexy or sort of erotic grown-up movies, but just very well acted, especially considering how tough like it would have been to do some of these scenes in this movie and get into them and make them believable. But this is a awesome release here by Imprint, and a hell of a good Blu-ray. It's a Blu-ray now, but it is region free on the Blu-ray, and I recommend it, especially for maybe a date night. Okay, next up on the list is one that's been around for a while, and this movie has a lot of recognizable faces in it. It is a comedy called Rat Race. I absolutely love this movie, and when I say this movie has everybody in it, you've got, oh my God, you've got John Cleese, you've got John Lovitz, you've got Cuba Gooding Jr., you've got Amy Smart, you've got gosh, who's all Seth Green, Whoopi Goldberg. I'm trying to even remember everybody who's in this. Breckin Meyer, Kathy Najimy, Rowan Atkinson. I mean, that just scratches the surface of who's on in this movie. You'll see other cameos in here, and basically, it is a like a race. These people get randomly approached to be part of this race from, I think it's Las Vegas to New Mexico, and the winner gets $2 million, and there are no really rules in this race. They've just, the first one that gets there wins, and hilarity ensues as they all try to get to where they're going. It's like a comedy of errors, and I don't know, this thing is so fun, and I meet so many people that have never heard of this, and this may be a remake or a retelling of a classic film. I think I heard that at one time, but I'm not 100% sure. But it says laugh till you'll cry. The first time, especially the first time you see this movie, you're gonna laugh. I mean, just the ridiculousness. Cuba Gooding Jr., for instance, is a NFL referee, and he's supposed to be like the referee that screwed up the coin toss, and so everybody hates him. And that kind of happened in real life. But as he's racing, he tries to get there, and he catches a bus that is filled with I Love Lucy. What are they called? Impersonators. Lucy impersonators. Oh my Lord, it is so funny. This whole movie is funny. I would say if you had to pick like a main character, it may be Breckin Meyer, who's the main character. But this movie is a lot of fun. I bought this years and years ago, previously viewed from Hollywood Video. I don't know if there's another, I don't know if it's out of print or if there is a Blu-ray or any other upgrade out there. But this movie is a hell of a lot of fun. Has a fun soundtrack to it, like Smash Mouth in the soundtrack. There's a fun soundtrack to it. A lot of fun, and a hilarious ride. Rat Race. Next up on the list is one I've talked about before, and I only have, this is one of those that only have that homemade case with a old DVD for, and you've probably seen it, so it's a little lower down here on the list, but I'm talking about Bowfinger. This is sneaky, a very, very, one of my very favorite Eddie Murphy films here. The interesting thing about this is I did a list a while back of movies that give me like the movie theater or Hollywood, like that vibe. And this movie should have been on it, but I at the time I was doing what was in my collection mostly, and I could not find this. But in this, you've got Steve Martin, you've got Eddie Murphy, you've got Heather Graham in this movie. You've got cameos by like Robert Downey Jr. and others in here. Terrence Stamp. Steve Martin plays an independent wannabe filmmaker living in Hollywood. He still kind of lives like an old Hollywood way, kind of. Sorry, I'm gonna try to fix that for you. He still tries to live like old Hollywood, kind of, but it's just never happened for him. His dream, he's still dreaming of being a big famous filmmaker, and he's been saving money to make himself a film, and he doesn't have the money to cast a star, so he's decided he is going to find Eddie Murphy's character, who is a movie star in the movie, and put him in the movie without him even knowing it. And so they follow him around, basically run up to him and say their lines. And I don't know what's going on with my camera. They basically run up to him, say their lines. He's kind of a crazy loon a little bit, and he doesn't know what's going on. and they end up being able to use him in the movie, but they also find his like basically twin brother, who's also Eddie Murphy, who's a goober, and they use him for other shots in the movie. It's fun. It's just got a good like feeling to it. You got Jamie Kennedy in here as the camera guy, and kind of need him right now because my camera's just going batshit crazy. A lot of fun on this movie, and I don't know if you like sort of those. There's something about it that just makes me feel, gives me like the old school Hollywood vibes to it, and I'm not really sure what it is, but I have a lot of fun with Bowfinger. If you haven't seen this one, or if you haven't seen it in a long time, check it out. I highly recommend Bowfinger. I think it is a super underrated Eddie Murphy movie, and then Steve Martin is great in the film. So Bowfinger, a lot of fun like Hollywood tropes. Like Heather Graham is fully ready just to sleep her way to the top, no matter what she's got to do. Doesn't bother her one bit. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Very, very fun movie. Next up on the list is one a lot of you probably seen, especially if you're Tim Burton fans. But because this is that, I'm talking about Big Fish. Uh, this movie, if you're a storyteller, if you're a writer, if you're a filmmaker, if you have a big imagination, you remember what it's like to be a kid and to have a big imagination, Big Fish is an absolutely amazing film. Nominated, it says 4 Golden Globes, Academy Award nominee. Ewan McGregor, Albert Finney, Billy Crudup, Jessica Lange. Um, this movie's so Ewan McGregor's father, Albert Finney, is like, he claims to have done all of these amazing, great things in his life. He tells these huge, imaginative whoppers of stories, and we get to go in and see these stories as he's telling them to his son growing up. And they're just fantastical stories, and they put together this fantastic and amazing life. And the problem is, they've kind of alienated him from his son. His son doesn't really believe, as he's gotten older, he thinks his dad was kind of like a fraud. He loves him, but he's, it's like crazy dad making up these stories and everything. And then they come back in town because his dad is, passing away. And turns out that maybe dad embellished this great life a little bit. Maybe he embellished these stories a little bit, but maybe there was a lot of truth there too. And it just has this wonderment to me as someone who has this big imagination, because I'm a writer and everything. And there's like this idea that writers, it's not so much about truth, it's about their telling the story and leaving that mark in the hearts and minds of people. And like, for instance, in this movie, he tells a story about these twins who were Siamese twins that were in this show with him or whatever. And maybe they were conjoined twins at some point. Maybe they weren't, but they did exist, and they did do this show together as conjoined twins and things like that. So it's like, if he was lying, it wasn't a lie of maliciousness. It was to give his child and the people he told these stories to a sense of wonder and imagination, that anything in the world is possible, and that the world is much more mysterious and grand than we give it credit for, and that there's much more out there, and everything hasn't been found and filed and categorized. And because of the way he tells those stories leave a mark on people. And his son has I think I said Ewan McGregor was he is Ewan McGregor when he's younger. Billy Crudup is his son. But it is, we have a my uncle, Harold, and he worked with me on some movies. He did music for Dark Roads. Uh, he is kind of like this guy. Now, my uncle, like me, has done a lot of things, and I know, like, my kids sometimes I'll say, because I was, I've done this and I've done that and I've done this and I've done that, and it sounds like you're making it up, and you're not. And he wasn't completely making this up either, but he's just telling these grand stories. I don't know if this movie has a 4K. This movie needs a 4K. This is actually my favorite Tim Burton movie right here. I absolutely love Big Fish. It is, I think it has so much heart. It has so much heart, and he can't help it but give you that little sense of, in this movie, of wonder himself by the end of it. Tim Burton, like, make you wonder about the storytelling, and is it really true, and all that, and it sticks with you in your heart. I really do love this movie. Like, this is genuinely a movie that I think everyone should watch. You may see this pop up on another list here soon, but Big Fish, a great, great, and my favorite Tim Burton movie. I can't remember if Tim Burton wrote this one or not. I mean, I know it's a Tim Burton film, but I don't know if I can't remember who wrote it. But of course, so you got Helen Bonham Carter in here. You even got Danny DeVito. I can't remember if he wrote it, but this movie, definitely worth your time. Big Fish, if you hadn't caught it. Catch it. All right, next one up, changing tones again, is a kind of crude comedy, sci-fi comedy, The Watch. Now, this is one that I don't hear talked about. You got Jonah Hill in here, Ben Stiller, and Vince Vaughn. I don't hear this one talked about a lot. This is like, these guys have a neighborhood watch, and they catch wind of a alien invasion. And like, Ben Stiller works at like basically like a Costco or a Sam's, and I don't know. There he's like, it's supposed to take place in Glenview, Ohio, and it was all filmed right here in Georgia. And I immediately thought about this because my friend Marla, who you guys have heard me talk about before, she's in here, and Billy Crudup, oddly enough, is in this movie too. I didn't even think about that, but they have a they think that they're hunting down some aliens who are doing this weird stuff in their neighborhood, and early in the movie. Now the aliens are really here, and that's not a spoiler. You find that out immediately. But they get their wires crossed, and they go into investigate something going on at one of their neighbors' houses in the basement, and it's an orgy. It's like a swinging orgy. And oddly enough, my friend Marla is in that scene and basically had to be nude all day. So I heard all about this movie before it ever came out. And the movie's a trip. It is a raunchy, kind of a raunchy sci-fi comedy, which is with some action, which is something that you just don't get. It's kind of an odd mix, and it's just with all the star power in it, you never hear about this one that much. So I thought, in case any of you guys out there haven't seen The Watch, and you're sci-fi fans, you like raunchy comedies or whatever. I mean, this is a thing with an alien invasion and an orgy. There you go. The Watch. It is pretty funny, pretty raunchy. Got some action, got some sci-fi elements, got some pretty good makeup with the sci-fi. So The Watch, Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, Jonah Hill. Check it out. All right, I have another one of my makeshift homemade DVDs here, DVD cases, and that is for Sorority Boys. I don't know if you guys can see that. This movie, they probably could not make today, even though this was made in like the early 2000s. They probably couldn't make this now. This is Michael Rosenbaum and Barry Watson as the main stars here. Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville. He's Lex Luthor in Smallville. This movie is hilarious. So these three guys get thrown out of their fraternity, and they are basically trying to get back in. So they pose as girls, like they cross dress, they dress as girls to join a sorority, and it's the sorority that they used to pick on as that their fraternity used to pick on. So they got to go in here and pose as women. And of course, a lot of hilarity ensues because they're attracted to, especially Barry Watson's character and Michael Rosenbaum. They have like all of them end up with like love interests in this sorority, and they've got to hide it. And I mean, it's funny. You know, it's a funny movie. They start to get into it too much. And they make three of the ugliest women that you've ever seen, and that's part of what's funny. And of course, they're towering over everyone, but it's funny. It's definitely a crude, kind of on the raunchy comedy side, a little bit underrated. One I never hear people talk about, but maybe because it is not politically correct in any way, shape, or form, but it is fun and funny. And I'm a big fan of Michael Rosenbaum. So, Sorority Boys here on our list. All right, I got just a couple more for you. Next up is one that I talked about recently, so I won't talk about it a whole lot. It's going to appear on one other list probably here soon. But that is a murder mystery, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. This stars John Cusack and Kevin Spacey. And I think this is trying to remember who directed this. I first thought it was it's Clint Eastwood. It's produced and directed by Clint Eastwood. His daughter's in the movie. This all takes place in Savannah, Georgia. This is based on a true story. It is a murder mystery with some spooky, like a little bit of supernatural vibes to it. Very Southern, classic Southern. And Jim Williams, Kevin Spacey plays Jim Williams, and he is a self-made aristocrat in Southern Savannah society. And John Cusack plays Mr. Kelso, who comes down from New York City from Town and Country magazine to come and cover Jim Williams' party, his Christmas party. And there ends up being a situation where Jim Williams kills someone, and he says it's in self-defense. And we spend the rest of the movie going back and forth. It's based off a novel and a true story, going back and forth through the court case and in flashbacks and all that kind of stuff. And then you get to be part of Savannah society from around Thanksgiving through the end of Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that as it's taking place. Beautiful scenery, a murder mystery, a real life murder mystery with a beautiful setting and a little bit of supernatural overtones or undertones to it, depending on how much you glean from it. But Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, really damn good movie. If you haven't seen this, see it. All right, I got two left, and this next one you'll probably see on one other list here soon. I don't know why I hear nobody ever talk about this movie. Now, I'm a Disney fan. I'm not a fan of how they're operating their company these days, but I am a huge fan of Walt Disney himself and the theme parks. I'm not a fan of how they're operating the theme parks. I'm not a fan of how they're doing their physical media, all that kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of how they're moving away from Walt's vision and all that kind of stuff. But I am a fan of Walt Disney, the man. I've probably read 20 books on Disney, and I really enjoyed this movie, Saving Mr. Banks. If you haven't seen this movie, Tom Hanks plays Walt Disney himself, and Emma Thompson plays P.L. Travers, who wrote Mary Poppins. And this movie is the story, and it's based on a book, and it's based on recordings, and they actually play real recordings of interviews and like sessions where they're coming up with the story for Mary Poppins and the negotiation to acquire Mary Poppins. They play real tapes where those were recorded. and it is basically Tom Hanks as Walt Disney having to fight to get Mary Poppins. We see why P.L. Travers is kind of so attached to Mary Poppins and why she doesn't want to give it up. Although she's a curmudgeonly ass, and apparently that was true in real life. But we see her life through some flashbacks and the care and why she's afraid of how the movie will be portrayed because it portrays people in her real life, including her father. But they actually filmed some of this at Disneyland. It goes very old school Hollywood, and it just gives you those vibes. It is a very feel good movie. A little spoiler alert for a list that's coming up. Some great feel good films. You may see this one on there too. Tom Hanks is fantastic he is damn good as Walt Disney himself. But I would like to have seen him play Walt Disney in another that where the whole story was about Walt Disney himself. But Saving Mr. Banks, great film. I don't hardly hear anyone ever talk about this movie. But this one is one that would benefit from a 4K because the colors, the time period that it's set in the 50s and stuff like the late 50s, just absolutely beautiful. And Saving Mr. Banks. I got one left, and I never hear anybody talk about this movie. I love this movie. I'm a big fan of Joshua Jackson, who played Pacey in Dawson's Creek. That's how a lot of people my age got introduced to him. Dawson's Creek, I think, started my senior year of high school. So, actually, a lot of us my age got introduced to him in the Mighty Ducks. But this movie is a suspense thriller, The Skulls. If you haven't seen this also has the late Paul Walker. They are the two leads, and Joshua Jackson. I don't know why people don't talk about it. This movie's super underrated. Joshua Jackson, he plays a kid that wants to go to law school in the Ivy Leagues, but he's poor, and he has to go on scholarship. He has to row crew. He has to work the kitchens and all that kind of stuff, while Paul Walker comes from a very rich and connected family. But they both want to be part of this secret society, the Skull and Bone Society, because that's like a forever make you society. And this is a real supposed secret society. And of course, Paul Walker is a legacy, so he's a shoe-in. But Joshua Jackson has never had anything. He's had to fight for every crumb. So this is something that could make his entire life. Well, he gets in, but finds out that getting in it was the easy part. There's a lot of strings attached. There is a murder that happens that he is caught up in. Things go crazy. It's a test of who he is as a person. Like I said, this is a suspense thriller. And this is one that is super worth your time. I'm trying to remember. Let's see. Leslie Bibb. I couldn't remember. Leslie Bibb also plays in this movie. And I think it's Craig T. Nelson that is that plays Paul Walker's father. And of course, he was also in the Skull and Bones Society. If you haven't seen The Skulls, it is worth your time. I don't know if this DVD is out of print, if there's a Blu-ray or whatever. This is one I would gladly upgrade if there was a 4K as well. But this is a really good movie. You're going to see a lot of recognizable faces, and it is very well acted, intense, beautiful scenery, and a fun kind of suspense thriller. Kind of fits in this time of year because I like to do murder mysteries and sort of noir and some suspense thriller type stuff. And The Skulls is one that you might have missed. So that is my list this time for 10 movies that you've never seen or that maybe you just missed or forgot about. Let me know what you think. Have you seen any of these movies? Do you like any of these movies? What's some other obscure movies that you like that you don't hear a lot of people talk about? Let me know. I love to talk about it. And if you guys enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. I know it's a busy time of year, but it really does help me out, and share the channel. If you want to help support the channel, you can like and subscribe, and then you can join right here at my Patreon link below or right here on YouTube. Get special access to my behind-the-scenes content, special members videos, get your name in lights here, get to see some of my filmmaking, all that kind of stuff. And it really does help support the channel and helps us here, helps me personally, and everything goes back into the channel. And I really do appreciate it. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
I know.